Throughout centuries, the enchanting realm of Ulnith has persisted in a state of anguish and cruelty as a result of the endless war. Even though the demons were undoubtedly superior to humans in every aspect, humanity valiantly resisted until the outcome of the realm hinged on a showdown between two individuals. The supreme demon lord, known as Veltal, alongside mankind's brave hero, Graham. The brave hero takes the initiative by lunging towards Veltal, only to be blocked by the demon and pushed back. Veltal casts a swift flurry of dark magic incantation. Graham effortlessly breaks through Veltal's magical defenses and emerges victorious, despite Veltal's confusion over his defeat, as he believes himself to be stronger than Graham. Graham responded that he emerged victorious because, being mortal beings, they comprehend the preciousness of life. As he begins to fade away, he vows to return soon and spread darkness among humans once more, with Graham assuring to be present to thwart his plans. Lord Veltal makes his triumphant return to the world through reincarnation after 500 years, receiving a warm welcome from his devoted servant, Machina. She explains that 80 years back, a catastrophic incident called Fantajet took place when their realm Alnith merged with a world from another dimension called Earth. In due time, the technologically advanced society of Earth united forces with the magical civilization of Alnith. As soon as Veltal steps outside and takes in the sight of the world beyond, he becomes completely still, overwhelmed by a profound sense of astonishment. He gazes in disbelief as a random man accidentally brushes past him and continues walking without acknowledging the encounter. Upon observing the situation, Veltal chooses to reveal his presence and assert his dominance over the humans. He attempts to cast a spell to dissipate the overcast sky. However, the spell fails to take effect, leading to ridicule from the handful of onlookers who observed the scene. As Veltal hurried away from the scene, a peculiar sensation washed over him, causing him to glimpse a mysterious cloaked figure moving in the opposite direction. Machina gently brings him up to speed on all the latest developments. She describes how, following his passing, the demons and mortals came to a truce that endured until 80 years back when Elnith merged with Earth. As the immortals dispersed, the major industries united and launched a concerted effort to challenge the rule of the demons. Immortality-resistant weapons were manufactured in large quantities and deployed to eradicate demons. Veltal inquires about the whereabouts of the 6 dark peers. Machina mentions that the location of 3 peers is currently unknown, and then inquires about the whereabouts of the 6th peer named Marcus. Machina smoothly transitions the conversation and opts to fetch him a beverage. Veltal gazes around, his attention piqued by a subtle change in the ether surrounding him, which he eventually traces back to a young girl. All of a sudden, the billboards in the square transitioned from their typical advertisements to something a bit cheeky. The ads come back swiftly, prompting Veltal to approach the girl to inquire about her action. He noticed the subtle shifts in the ether surrounding her, surprising her as she hadn't anticipated anyone paying attention while she was hacking, and inquired about the method behind her action. She clarifies that she is an ether hacker, suggesting that this playful trick was a form of activism. She holds a belief that the major corporation IHMI, responsible for the billboard advertisements, excessively limits internet access when it should remain open and free for all. Veltal inquires whether she is acquainted with a person by the name of Marcus. Without delay, she directs her finger towards a towering building in the distance. She informs him that the only Marcus she is familiar with is the CEO of EME, the company that owns the building. He promptly makes his way there and inquires about Marcus at the lobby reception. A second lady steps forward, presenting herself as Marcus's personal secretary. She leads him to the highest level of the skyscraper, where Marcus is seated on a throne, gazing down at Veltal. Veltal invites him to join in rebuilding the immortal kingdom and ruling the world once more, but Marcus chuckles and firmly declines the offer. Veltal is filled with anger and chooses to engage in a fight with the secretary. Gracefully wields her sword, striking at him with precision. Marcus eventually eases himself down. He ridicules Veltal's ambition to dominate the world once he loses his power. Veltal is getting ready to engage in combat with Marcus. Quickly counters his magic by softly chanting the phrase Spellbreaker. Thanks to the company's gadget called Familia, upon activating the projector, an advertisement for Familia is displayed, giving users the ability to select a spell of their choice and activate it through a brief incantation. Veltal attempts to engage him once more in combat, but Marcus skillfully nullifies his spell using Spellbreaker yet again. He proceeds to elucidate that the enchantment processing velocity of Familia exceeds that of Veltal, rendering him too sluggish for the present. Subsequently, he impolitely bids farewell by unleashing several bloodsword spells, forcing Veltal out of the tower. Once Veltal touches the ground, he clumsily emerges onto the street and collides with a group of thugs. However, they also end up assaulting him, and he is left unconscious on a stack of garbage bags. This is where Machina discovers him and desperately attempts to rouse him from unconsciousness. Upon arriving at her house, Veltal feels like she is teasing him, as the room is quite small. Veltal understands the challenges Machina faced after his passing and embraces her to show gratitude for her unwavering loyalty, bringing tears of joy to her eyes. During that evening, Machina had a dream about the time she narrowly escaped being attacked by a group of humans. As she descended towards her demise, she embraced her fate with acceptance. However, her fall was halted abruptly by a mysterious black orb enveloping, which then metamorphosed into Veltal's authentic essence. This was the moment when she encountered Demon Lord Veltal for the first time, and he extended an invitation for her to join him. In the morning, she gently rouses Veltal from his slumber with a generous breakfast spread. He inquires if she is aware of the locations of other immortals. She mentions that several immortals were able to flee during the Immortal Hunt initiative, but she lacks specific knowledge of their current wits. She decides to visit her dear friends, Ornarid and Pomlock, only to discover their house in ruins. The only trace they left behind was a note bearing the mysterious phrase, Immortal Furnace. Machina is concerned that he might gradually fade into obscurity if the situation persists, yet Veltal stays composed and resolves to rediscover his faith. She guides him to a cozy little room to help him choose some new clothing. She politely requests him to stand on the platform for a 3D body scan. Upon completion of the ensemble, Machina deems it unattractive, while Veltal emerges as an enthusiastic admirer, passionately requesting the unappealing tracksuit. Veltal is keen on discovering more about Marcus's intriguing gadget while they enjoy their meal. She elaborates that while its primary function is for magic, it is predominantly utilized by individuals for information gathering. Upon their return, Veltal is struck by the conditions in which Machina resides and decides to actively seek employment. Machina vehemently objects, yet he calmly explains to her that times have evolved and he is no longer the all-knowing demon lord he used to be. She attempts to persuade him by mentioning that she will take on additional work roles. He further mentions that he remains determined in pursuing his ambition of world domination and will eventually achieve it with her by his side. Experiencing a renewed sense of hope after centuries, Machina gracefully kneels down and pledges her loyalty to him once more. Shortly after starting his search for a job, he slumps down in disappointment as he comes to the realization that he is uncertain about the available job opportunities. In that instant, he catches the enticing scent of ramen wafting from a nearby shop, causing his stomach to growl in response. He observes a beggar politely requesting spare change from passersby, and upon reading his sign, he learns that the beggar lost his leg during the war. It dawns on him that he is fortunate to possess the physical capability to work. He stands up and calls out in the middle of the street that he is in need of a job due to his financial situation. A man standing nearby, looking a bit irritated, approaches him and suggests that he carry out the task at the commercial guild. He kindly hands Veltal a resume, asking him to detail his work experience and submit it to the guild. Veltal expresses gratitude for his assistance and heads towards the guild. He confidently displays his resume to an elderly clerk who reads it with bewilderment. Veltal enthusiastically recounts his solo triumph in a battle. The man starts to wonder if he might have erred when mentioning that his most recent job was half a millennium in the past, especially since the company does not hire individuals without connection. Veltal comes back home feeling defeated, his confidence in pieces. He inquires if there is someone in the current world she can turn to for advice, to which she replies affirmatively, mentioning she has a friend. She extends an invitation to a friend for lunch, but upon arrival, it becomes evident that the guest is actually the ether hacker from a previous encounter. She goes by the name Taka and shares that she first encountered Machina on a fan page dedicated to the demon lord. Veltal observes that Taka has a unique familia compared to Machina's and gently reaches out to touch it. Next, Machina directly addresses Veltal's employment status and elaborates on the situation. Taka has proposed the idea of becoming a Twitch streamer. Taka mentions that he would simply appear on screen, engage in some games, or provide any form of entertainment for his audience. She is prepared to offer her old equipment to him to help him get started, but Machina firmly declines her generosity. Taka then mentions that working as an entertainer is a completely acceptable profession. Ultimately, the decision rests with Veltal, who openly acknowledges his lack of options and expresses his willingness to trust Taka. As Machina enjoys a bath, Veltal browses the Ethernet, discovering it to be an extensive and uncontrollable reservoir of information that can be transmitted at astonishing speeds. Machina exits the bath the moment she realizes she provided him with a moment of his existence and offers an apology for that. Shortly afterward, Taka arrives with her old gaming PC, hands Veltal a controller, and prepares to instruct him on its usage. However, he employs his Sage Eyes abilities to swiftly learn how to operate it. Taka is impressed by this, believing he can easily master it. He mentions that he is still not accustomed to the controller. Machina expresses concern that their plan may be failing, yet Taka insists this presents an opportunity. She intends to utilize Veltal's charming personality and appealing looks. Following that, Taka states that they need to devise an introduction for Veltal. Machina proposes that he recite one of his war declarations, which Veltal finds appealing. He recites a war declaration against mortal humans, and she notes that they will consider that later, emphasizing that they first need to grasp the fundamentals of streaming. The next piece of advice is directed at Machina, instructing her to avoid appearing on camera, even by accident. For the concluding segment, Taka decides to reach out to some of her affluent streamer acquaintances to promote Veltal. and her strategies appear effective. Thousands of viewers begin to tune into Velthal's streams within the initial days, and he soon reaches the 500,000 viewer milestone. He expresses his emotions candidly during the stream, which engages the audience further. He continues streaming while enjoying a tranquil life with Machina, and before long, he surpasses 1 million subscribers. After months of gameplay, he ultimately completes the game, and his viewers extend their congratulations. Velthal expresses his gratitude, stating that it was inevitable for him to succeed in the end because he is the Demon Lord. With that, he concludes the stream, and Machina enters to greet him. Velthal then steps outside, encountering the hero Graham in the slums. He is astonished to find his greatest rival in such unfortunate circumstances and reaches out to him. He takes Graham to a noodle shop, where Graham can only reminisce about the past when he gathered medicinal herbs for his sister. Furthermore, one of Velthal's 6 peers reduced his village to ashes. Their order prepares promptly, and Graham admits that he finds it peculiar to dine with the man who destroyed his family and countless friends. Veltal responds that even Graham has killed thousands of his minions. However, he currently feels no animosity towards him. He claims that their feud should be left behind. He inquires if he has also become an immortal demon, but Graham replies that he has not. Instead, following the war, he was favored by goddess Meldia, who bestowed upon him eternal youth. He starts to explain to Veltal that once the immortal war concluded, a conflict erupted among humans, and he was summoned to participate in it, tasked with eliminating the very people he had vowed to safeguard. Once tranquility was achieved and the humans ceased to require his assistance, they made him a target. He states that the world no longer necessitates a hero, nor does it require a demon lord. He subsequently questions Velthal about his desire to govern the world. Velthal responds that he aimed to create a peaceful environment, which comes as a profound surprise to Graham. Velthal clarifies that all of the immortals were previously regular humans who acquired their mortality through different methods. He mentions that even though they were fundamentally the same, humans despised the immortals, while the immortals viewed humans as inferior. This led to their conflict, and Velthal intended to resolve this by establishing equality under his dominion. Graham then departs suddenly. Following that, Veltal returns home. However, on his journey, he observes a man threatening Taka and attempting to strike her. Veltal intervenes to prevent him. That man identifies him as the individual he defeated a couple of months prior. The man delivers a punch, which Veltal easily blocks. Then the man releases a formidable wind attack. This crushes Veltal's arm, but he regenerates it immediately and then incapacitates the man with a simple flick of his fingers. Taka expresses her gratitude and then informs him that this man was actually her bodyguard, but he was unjustly demanding double payment. However, Taka requests him to take her bodyguard's place instead. They proceed to a warehouse, where Taka reveals that she has a mission to steal something. But Veltal is impatient and kicks down the doors, dispatching the guards. He enters the warehouse, where some mafia leaders are engaging in a clandestine transaction. Veltal spots a small cube on the table. He quickly contacts Taka using telepathy and asks if that box is her target for theft. Taka affirms this and then inquires how and when Veltal acquired a familiar to communicate with her in such a manner. He explains that he does not require one, as he can replicate its functions through his skills. One of the mobsters points a gun at him, but Veltal simply utilizes his magic to solidify his body and deflect all the bullets. The Foxman attempts to shoot him once more, but Veltal moves so swiftly that he can't even line up a shot, and subsequently knocks him unconscious. He assaults the last 2 individuals. Veltal gets in touch with Taka, and she is genuinely amazed that he succeeded in taking down the mafia leaders all by himself. She is on her way to his location to retrieve the box, but Veltal perceives a threat and advises her to remain concealed. Suddenly, an individual draped in an invisibility cloak enters the area and assaults Veltal. Fortunately, he is able to detect the hidden foe through his ether flow and fires at him, ripping away the invisibility cloak, exposing a massive mecha suit. Veltal is astonished, but Taka identifies it as a 4th-generation Majinujir. She warns Veltal to flee because he won't stand a chance against the mecha. Yet he embraces the challenge and begins firing at it. The mecha pulls out a weapon from its armor and starts shooting at Veltal, who dodges all of its shots. Veltal unleashes his dark magic attack to strike it. Veltal wishes to push his boundaries and conjures his sword. The mecha reacts by transforming its gun into a sword as well, subsequently emitting a significant amount of heat from its frame. Veltal charges at it, and their confrontation generates enough force to shatter the floor beneath them. And then the mecha suddenly channels all its strength into the sword, slashing Veltal's arm and then his head. He quickly tends to his injuries and compliments the mecha on its performance. Veltal resolves to summon his true weapon, a dark sword that even deities fear. and subsequently renders it ineffective. Soon, Taka rushes in and tells Veltal that she was terrified, but he reassures her that it's not a significant issue. She then spots Igami's emblem on the mecha. Veltal then inquires about the cube, and she explains that it is a data storage device. She unlocks the cube to disclose a list. Veltal recognizes all the names on the list as his subordinates, who are all immortal, but fortunately, Machina's name is absent. Taka decides to reach out to her client to find out what the list means, but he doesn't answer the calls, so she chooses to visit him instead. They make their way to the client's building and arrive at the 13th floor. Taka presses the doorbell, but the client does not respond, and then Veltal discovers that the door is ajar. They enter the apartment, and Taka looks for her client, but to her shock, he is already deceased. Veltal observes him and realizes that he is the same beggar he once encountered while searching for a job. Taka mentions that he frequently disguised himself as a vagrant to gather intelligence. Veltal suspects that someone hired a hitman to eliminate him, and also obliterated his familia. Taka believes that the hitman's objective was to eliminate the information within the familia. She begins to search the table and discovers a laptop hidden in a drawer, but the files on it are all damaged and corrupted. Veltal recognizes a pattern in the way the files are organized, and when he shares this with Taka, she quickly comprehends the trick. She manages to break it and finds a video clip labeled "The Immortal Furnace." She watches the video, and her client mentions that if someone views this video, it implies he is already deceased. The source of the issue is the ether reactor that provides power to the city of Shinjuku. The ether reactors absorb energy from the ether lines below the earth and convert it into electricity and data, but they must be situated over at least 10 ether lines to operate. Nevertheless, Shinjuku only has 2 lines, and it derives the rest of its energy by draining the souls of immortals using dark magic and prohibited rituals. The secret project has been codenamed Immortal Furnace. Based on the information he has compiled, the first immortal to be fed to the furnace as firewood was Zenal, one of the Demon Lord's 6 dark peers. Subsequently, numerous other immortals have been used in the same way. However, they still obtained information about mafia bosses, providing a list of immortals to Illum so that they could be utilized as the new supply of firewood. That is why he dispatched Taka to obtain it for him. The man asserts that he understands if the immortal furnace is deactivated, the whole city will cease to function, but he feels it is the right action to take. He thinks that the only individual capable of accomplishing this would be the Demon Lord, but he is uncertain if he is still alive. Taka shakes with fury as the video concludes. Veltal reveals that this is an issue concerning immortals, and as their king, it is his responsibility to address it. Taka agrees to his decision, and then Veltal decides to inform Machina about the immortal furnace. He attempts to reach her via telepathy, but to his dismay, she does not reply, and he fears that she may be in danger as well.